Hey, good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for Friday, July 7th, 2017. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. We're right back toward that 2400 level. Very important level in the charts. I've talked about this before. 2400 to 2404 half, very important zone. Clear separator between price distributions right now. We have this rounded top that's playing out here. Typically speaking, these rounded tops can build quite the energy and release that energy very reliably. If there's any failure to hold at 2400, this recent pivot low could be a very quick target to reach at about the 2345s. We do have a clear midpoint to watch at around 2385 that could be hit very quickly. But again, we've been in a very bullish market overall. I'm not expecting a huge capitulation of any magnitude at this moment. Things can change, but any pullback that is seen, even into 2340, could still be a fantastic buying opportunity overall. We have to see how price behaves should a push below 2400 occurs, because that could be a great trap as well. So right now, watching this area to see how it plays out. Any expansion that begins could see a quick push through the next zone into 2340, even as low as the 2300 to 2320 zone. Now, we haven't seen any real pullbacks of that magnitude for some time, so it could be a long shot to see something fall into that zone. But if something were to push into this area, it would be an opportunity for bulls to defend for a major swing pushback toward highs, at least back to 2400 and perhaps much higher. So any pullback is still a buying opportunity within the long-term trending structure of this market until proven otherwise. But again, we got to keep eyes on 2400. If we take a look at the intraday time frame, it's been a very quiet overnight trade here. Very small range that's been playing out, 4.5 points. Not really much to work with here. So it's been a very quiet overnight trade. Not really anything to play off of just yet, but we could have kind of a short-term fade the edges until proven otherwise type of approach. So very quiet as we head into RTH on Friday. If we take a look at crude oil. For crude oil, we've had quite the move here. If you take a look at the higher time frame here, one thing that I've been watching is how was price going to respond on the pullback. And yesterday we had quite the rejection 2 days before. Yesterday price was holding 45.20s and attempting to bounce, but by late in the day it had rejected the previous month's close pretty dramatically and had pushed and closed near the session's lows. Now we're right into that 43.76 level that I've been talking about. This is the last line of the defense here for the bulls. It really is. If bulls can't keep 43.76 bid for a shot at a returning price to 48.76, then we could be looking at much more weakness ahead into prior lows and perhaps much lower. In our monthly market outlook for July that we hosted on Wednesday, I mentioned that if there's any failure to hold 43.76 here, then we could be looking at a return to 40. And a return to 40 and into 38.76, somewhere in that zone, would be a big-time buying opportunity for a push back toward 45.66, which is composite VPOT. So right now, I'd be very cautious. It appears that price really doesn't want to go up at this time. I've been very cautious about this push higher. We never saw the real rejection that we're used to seeing. Rejection like this, or rejection like this, or even this. Whatever the case is, we're pretty good about finding that rejection and following it back to value. There was never a real rejection down here, but price did push up. And to me, you have to be cautious with those, because at times that means that there could be another swing down. So keep an eye on 43.76. Any failure to hold that level could easily push this thing back to 40. And any push into that LVN down there, that CLVN, could be a fantastic buying opportunity to finally return price back to 45.66. On an intraday basis here, what you'll notice is the previous session had quite the decline. Price attempted to push up, did, and then sold off significantly. And so far here today, you've seen this thing just continue downward. just continue pushing downward back toward 44s and is now bouncing to VWAP. So right now we have an opportunity at this LVN right here for bears to defend. We have a downward sloping VWAP. It's testing the CLVN prior support. This is an area that if we're going to continue pushing a little bit lower, bears want to keep 44.60 offered for a return to 44 and perhaps lower. Above 44.60 would return price back to 45 on a short-term basis. All right, let's take a look at gold futures. Gold futures is finally starting to hold at a zone that could offer a longer-term swing bounce here, finally. I know we've been looking for this for a while. Never really happened before when we were in this zone here. And instead, Monday, we got the big slide downward. And if you look at this, this is the key range I've been watching for some time and using. This key range impulse move occurred in February into March. The midpoint of that range is 1229.70. And the last time we got below it, we held for several days. The stops came out, and that's when we were gunning for 1300. Once we got up here, we were looking to return it back to 1259 and as low as 1229. As low as 1229 because it was the midpoint of this key range. And now we're right back into that familiar territory just like before, holding at the moment. There's no rejection just yet, but this could be an opportunity that if price pushes back above 1230, you could begin to see the short squeeze back to 1259 and after a while, perhaps all the way back to 1300. It's been a very clear trading range that's been developing. And again, there's no rejection here to follow just yet. But 1229, 1230 is going to be the very important pivot here that if price starts to get above that zone again, we could begin to see the short squeeze back to value. Lastly, let's take a look at the NQ. The NQ continues to hold within this key range. Again, this is the key range that I'll be using perhaps the rest of the summer. This is 55.50 half up to 59.07 half. Very clear impulse move that we have, a midpoint at 57.29. And right now, the expectation is that we likely stay within this range for the most part. We may get outside the range into 5,500, but that would be an opportunity to pull back into 57.29 and perhaps as high as the 58s, 58.50s. But overall, this is likely the range that is going to contain price here into the rest of the summer. If there's any failure to hold that range, then we have the extensions to work off of. But any push down into 5,500 and that CLVN will be an opportunity to watch for rejection and look to return price back toward the HVN and perhaps higher within the range. So right now, not a whole lot to do. We haven't tested that low from May. Very, very close. I'd say that once price does get outside that range, it could be a fantastic opportunity to look to fade it back up within the boundaries of that range. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this plays out the rest of the session. Have a fantastic day and a great Friday. See you soon.